And we're live. And explain what we're doing.
Today we are going to be making ravioli.
I'm petrified, but apparently my husband knows what he's doing, so.
Mostly knows what he's doing.
Okay.
It'll be a simple recipe. Essentially, we'll be making pasta dough, which is eggs and flour.
So let's begin.
Hey guys, so I am going to try to do a voiceover because I am just petrified of everything. As you can see, my husband is cracking the eggs. Now, I do want to acknowledge we are doing this straight on the table. And if you can see right below where our cup is, there is a natural crack in our, as my husband says, hi, in our table, so that kind of is becoming a nuisance, and this is me whipping it. But this is the first time I've ever made ravioli, and my husband's trying to be encouraging, but I'm like, do I even know what the heck I'm doing? And I'm just whisking it away. I am used to making scrambled eggs, so that part doesn't bother me as much. But now we are going to start adding the flour. As I said, yes, we are putting this directly on our table. I understand that might not be the way to go, but hey, we're trying.
Yep. Yeah, just try not to explode it. We're making pasta, not explosives.
So this is us trying to make the little like circle in the middle as my husband is pouring the egg into it, and we are trying to, combine the egg and the dough, which definitely is not as easy as it looks. I'm not trying to complain here, but like my back was hurting, so if I look like I'm in pain a little bit, that's why. My husband's adding a lot of flour because we had a lot of the egg going. But this is a closer look at it. Excuse my hands, and yes, I know I am wearing my wedding ring. Don't worry, later in this video I did take it off. My husband still has his on. I know it's not always recommended to cook with your, wedding rings on, but this is our attempt at, trying to make this. And you're going to see me constantly wiping my hands together. It's more of a sensory issue. My husband and I are both autistic, and one thing I cannot stand is like the feeling of even the dough on my hands. So if you guys see me, constantly wipe my hands, please don't worry. I did, obviously wash my hands before, and I washed my hands after this as we are trying to make this circle. And I am trying to pick it up and compact it, and that's like somewhat working, but somewhat not. But hey, again, I'm trying. Now we have switched to my husband. Unfortunately, my back was really hurting, so I asked him to take over, to which he is doing a good job. As you can tell, he's definitely more the chef than I am. And you can see me in the background, obviously washing our hands. We did this multiple times to ensure sanitary safety. So at this time, my husband is just, patting it down. Now, some of you may be like, oh, this looks like pizza dough. To which it really does. Same format, but he is just pounding it, pounding. And I'm just sitting down, holding on to the flour. But we did put flour down on the table, and now we are switching to a rolling pin that luckily we saved from the people who lived here before, which were my extended family in-laws. So we're just putting more powder down to try to get the dough not to stick to the rolling pin, which we had to do this a couple times because it kept sticking, especially the part that you can see that's a little bit broken off. We were able to fix that. So yeah, now he's letting me take a turn. I am sitting down if you're wondering why the camera's a little odd. So I'm just continuing to try to roll it out. I always remember being taught, don't put your hands like on the little handles, if you're wondering why my hands are like kind of gliding over it. This was actually quite a struggle. As you can see, some parts of it is sticking to the rolling pin, so we're just trying to add more flour. In the comments, definitely suggest if there is an easier way for us to do this. And again, I know we are doing this directly on the table. It was clean before, and we are keeping it clean. And the mess that you're seeing has been cleaned off between the later part of this video and now, as my husband takes over and really spreads it out as I just watch him. But I am the student and he is the master at this point. He's done this before a couple times, but
Back when I was a kid, I think.
when he was a kid, if you guys didn't hear him say that last time. But yeah, so he's doing kind of a similar technique with like not putting your hands on the handle. And I know this is supposed to be a voiceover, but I'm trying to be as raw as possible. This is him just, we're trying to make this as thin as we can. And it somewhat is working. Some parts are being less defiant than others. But overall, we're doing a good job, I think.
Here's the dough.
And we have successfully managed to make very thin dough that we put on our personalized cutting board, which was a wedding gift that has our picture on it. And you can see the part that's kind of like looping off, but we later fixed this, and yeah, I am happy. Go.
Alright, as you can see, this is one of the first times I'm doing a proper measurement. Right now, I'm just going to try to get these relatively same amount of meat for when we do eventually cut it.
And I apologize for the shaking. I am actually having to hold my computer, the camera that we're using. So if it appears shaky, seizure warning, obviously, for those who are sensitive to that.
Stuck. Very cheesy. No pun intended. Go. There. Yeah, looks like we got one last one. See. Bean notes. There we go. And now we're going to start cutting some of this flour, not flour, some of the dough to fold it on top of each other. So you're going to clean off this knife a little. Okay, now we're going to be cutting into the dough itself. Try to get some of this excess part out, and then we're going to use this excess to fold on top of the ravioli. Going to cut that way. There we go. And we can probably start cutting them as though they're like regular squares.
So now we are getting to the fun part. We are taking the leftover dough and putting it over the meat and the bottom half, making sure that there are no cracks. And I actually really like doing this. I don't know why, but I really, really like doing this part. And I forewarn you, our pot stickers, sorry, I keep saying pot stickers because this is what it's reminding me of, but this ravioli is not going to be, you know, the stereotypical, like, big bow with the little things on the side. We did try to do that. It didn't exactly work out, so that's my weird shape. And my husband and I just took as much as the flour as we can. I actually was afraid we were going to run out of the leftover dough, but we just managed to do it. And yeah, so this was actually very interesting. On some of them I really did have to, you know, try to push the meat and make them very large, like the bow part where the meat is. But I actually really had fun doing this part, and I just love how oddly shaped it is. I sent a short video to my mom, and she's like, "Good for you, baby." And yeah, so I actually feel really accomplished doing this, which is not something common with me when it comes to cooking at all, because I have such cooking anxiety. I guess, like, doing this from scratch is my way of trying to calm down. And yes, this is stressful, but this part was not as stressful as I thought. So I just wanted to throw this part in. My husband did try to make that, you know, little indents you see a lot of store-bought ravioli has. By taking like extra piece of the dough and the fork and just trying to make those indents. It didn't turn out very well, but I am so proud of him for trying, and it's actually kind of funny watching him. I'm looking at him and I'm just like laughing, but I'm proud of him for trying. And yeah, so ravioli with that like stereotypical little indents, not as easy as it looks. So this is what they look like now. And don't worry, I am holding my computer away from this
this luckily is just zoomed in. So my husband's doing a great job. You can tell the ones I did because you can see the meat sticking through. But hey, we're trying here. Of course, we can't be Italian without spaghetti sauce.
Yep.
And my husband's gonna add it.
And for the tomato.
Listen to that sizzle.
Yep.
Now, interestingly, my nieces actually like what we call naked ravioli, which is ravioli without the pasta sauce, which sometimes due to acid reflux that I have, I can't always have, pasta like stuff with the pasta sauce, so I also like that. But yeah, we're doing good. I hope.
Somewhat. Now we have the finished product. Ooh.
I am trying to close the curtain. We have quite the sun in our face. So. Let's close that.
There they go. Nice candlelit dinner. Boop. What?
I'm petrified. I'm so scared right now. Yummy.
Try to describe it.
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf? Okay.
Like meatball seasoning inside of a big bowl of ravioli.
Yep, kind of fell apart.
Yep, got it. So this is the kind of the aftermath. We just ate it, and tell me what you think, honey.
Went pretty well for the most part. Probably could have done the dough a lot better.
What could you have done better?
Follow the recipe.
So he vaguely knew what to do, but we didn't follow a recipe per se. So first time it was actually it went better than I thought it was. The dough just became hard, but it didn't feel undercooked. Maybe a little overcooked, but overall it was pretty good, as you saw in the video. My acid reflux did come up, but that was more, I think, because of the spaghetti sauce, and explain why.
I think when I ended up opening up that can of spaghetti sauce, I kind of, not entirely sure what it was. It just kind of messed with things, smelled strange. I tried to add in some herbs to counteract that, but I don't think it worked out as well as I thought.
People are gonna want to ask, was it expired?
No, it was not. It was bought relatively recently. I think it was just a weird spaghetti sauce, specifically.
He said it kind of felt a little oily.
Oh, well, I think part of the reason it felt oily was because I used a lot of oil for both putting it into the dough to add in a bit of flavor, as well as keep it a bit moister, as well as trying to cook it with some of that oil. In some oil too. Well, not exactly oil and water, but for the most part there was a good chunk of oil, so it felt more oily than it should have.
Which, we are learning. They had to learn it eventually. I don't ever remember being taught this as a child from my grandparents. So we learned. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And below, tell me you guys the stories with making ravioli.
And what to make next.
Yes.